Hello, and welcome to ASMR Chess. But today, the more observant among you may notice that it's a different game that I have displayed here. This is not chess, it's Magic the Gathering. So it's going to be a different kind of video for you guys today. See, I enjoy mini games. I like strategy and creativity. And even though Magic may not be as elegant as chess, it still is a lot of fun. So what we are going to do today is that we are going to take my deck and double sleeve it in these side-loaded clear sleeves and in these top-loaded matte black sleeves. I will be explaining a little bit about the cards, the strategy of the deck, and also the format, because you will notice that the deck is a bit peculiar. It has a very limited set of cards, only from very old series, and some of them I would like to run 4 copies of, like the Dark Ritual, but I can't, and I will explain why. First, I'll briefly go over the strategy of the deck. So we have these lands from Mirage. There are 24 of those. They are all exactly alike. And then we have 36 black spells. And the way the deck is structured, in a way, is around this guy. This is Dark Ritual. I have 3 of those. It's fast mana and it's a really, really good card. I would like to have 4, but I only have 3. And that is because that the format I am playing is, first of all, restricted to only cards before the summer of 98, and also we are only allowed to play with cards inside the meta. And the meta is, I'll start from the beginning. We are 8 players in our little Magic circle, like this circle here, from the card Hymn to Tourage on the playmat, which by the way has been signed by Liz Danforth, who drew this very nice illustration. We are 8 players in the circle, and what we do is that we hold drafts where we open 3 bags of Magic cards. That could be maybe from Tempest or 4th edition or Stronghold or something like that. Cards before 98, the summer of 98, but usually the oldest we go is 4th edition, because before that you will have to pay a lot of money for for unopened booster packs before that. So we hold these drafts and we take the cards home with us, and those cards are the only cards that are said to exist within the meta. So if I want a 4th Dark Ritual, I'll have to trade one of my friends, or rather one of the opponents in the circle, or as we call it, the league, for it. And some of those guys, there's one other guy who plays mono black who has 7 Dark Rituals, and he can of course only use 4. He does not really want to trade with me because he is afraid that I will get too strong. I am already very nicely placed in our league. So I have these 3 Dark Rituals, and I will explain the significance of those later. First, I'll show the threads in the deck. So we have the Wreck, a classic card, and when I say a thread, what I mean is this card is something that will damage my opponent. It's something that can make him lose the game. So I have one of those. It punishes him for having fewer than 3 cards in his hand, and that ties in with other cards, this one in particular. Then I have these. These are all the same. Actually, there are 3 of each. There are 3 of that guy, and then there are, with different illustrations, these 3, and they have different names. This is Knight of Stromgold, and this is Order of the Ebon Hand, and that's why I'm allowed to run more than 4, even though they are essentially the same card. And this is a 2/1 protection from white, and you can boost his attack for black, and you can give him first strike for black. And that may not seem as much, but for old cards, this is extremely strong, because it's a good card to drop on turn 2, but it's also a good card to drop on turn 8, because he has that ability to be boosted. And already we see how he plays together with Dark Ritual, because of course I can use Dark Ritual at instant speed to give him first strike or boost him further, thus making him more dangerous, and my opponent cannot know if I have Dark Ritual in hand, so he'll have to calculate different possibilities, making the game harder for him all the time. The next threat has basically the same concept. It's Dungeon Shade. There are 2 of those, and it's a flyer 1/1 for black 3, and you can boost it in attack and defense for black, and you can do that as much as you like. And this card is it's very good with Dark Ritual, and it's also very good against one of the most fierce opponents I have in the league, who has 2 copies of Control Magic. He plays mono blue, and if he takes control of this guy, which is my favorite Magic card of all time, it's a big problem for me, because he gets the, in our league, huge creature 4/4 flying with a bit of an ability. But if he controls this guy, since he has no black mana, he'll only get a 1/1 flyer. Basically, also same as the case with these guys, he cannot use their special ability. So it's just a small detail. Okay, we have the Singia Vampire here. Like, as a kid, this was just the coolest thing in the world, because the illustration is super badass, and yeah, it's a vampire, and it's a really strong card. Today, of course, with the current power level of creatures, it's nothing at all. But yeah, in this meta we are playing in, it's really strong. Okay, so those are the threats. Then we have defense. We have 4 terror, and my brother, who actually also plays in the league, has this very disturbing illustration tattooed on his arm. They are just instant speed removal. They are very efficient. Also, it benefits me that there's only one other guy playing black, so I don't face too many black creatures and not too many artifact creatures. So these are very efficient defense. Can of course also be used offensively. If I encounter any artifacts, artifact creatures, I have ways of removing them as well. And now you can see here there's another classic, probably the strongest creature in the meta, the Hypnotic Spectre. And you could ask yourself, why isn't he in the pile with threats? Well, he could be, because he is a very big threat. But the way I sort of conceptualize the strategy of this deck is that these cards, the next segment of cards, is cards that will give me an advantage beyond just damaging the opponent. And what this guy does is that when he attacks and damages the opponent, actually, if he just damaged the opponent in any way, I've used him with Fire Whip, the opponent has to discard a card at random. And that gives me a card advantage. And that's basically one of the things I am really looking for and looking to do in this deck, is to have more cards in play than my opponent and just win with a slow burn, slow torture. The equivalent from chess would be that imagine you have a material advantage that's analogous to a card advantage in Magic the Gathering. What you want to do in that situation, let's say you're up a knight, is to just trade equally down until you have a winning endgame, because maybe you are ahead 10-9, and that doesn't really mean too much. But if you trade 1 for 1 all the way down, then you are ahead 2-1, and that means you have 100% more power than your opponent, and that is significant. I have 2 of these guys, and these are extremely powerful. They work extremely well with Dark Ritual because they have a converted mana cost of 3, so I can actually play these on turn 1. And if I am playing against something that has no way of dealing with that, may have no lightning bolts or anything, then that's actually just ends the game basically. So people really have to take measures against this thing in their decks. Okay, the next thing, let's just get the defense out of the way. The next thing we have from the advantage pile is Crypt Rats. There's 2 of those. And I can use black mana. They are 1/1 for black 2. And I can use black mana to deal X amount of damage to all players and all creatures. And it can be used as a finisher. It's very good for that. But what I mainly use it for is to 2-for-1 my opponent. So what I want to do is I want to have a situation where I have only this creature and he has 2 or ideally even more creatures, and I will damage us all, and I will kill 2 of his creatures and kill, of course, the Crypt Rat. But I kill 2 and I only lose 1, so I have the 2-for-1 effect. And it of course works with Dark Ritual, because I can use the mana from Dark Ritual to boost this as well. Now we have the reason that I am kind of unpopular in my play group, and also the reason that I have this particular playmat, because I actually have managed to get 4 to Turok. Those are the only 4 in the meta, and we were so lucky, or rather I was, that I got exactly 1 of each illustration. You can see this illustration right here is the same as on my playmat. This card is kind of broken. It's too good in a way. It's black and it's a sorcery. Your opponent just discards 2 cards at random. That is so good. It's just an automatic 2-for-1, and that's the reason that I built the deck in this way. So I want to maximize this idea of 2-for-1ing. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is Infernal Tribute. This is not a very well-known card, but it's actually really good. It's black. It's an enchantment. Pay 2 and sacrifice a card in play. And that means a non-token permanent. And then I can draw a card. So this has a number of uses, but I can use it to turn, for instance, excess lane in a late game situation into new draws that will give me a sort of card advantage. You can also use it, for instance, let's say one of my opponents tried to capsize one of my creatures with buyback, and then I just in response sacrificed the creature, thus making the capsize fizzle, and I got a draw more. Not a draw like as a stalemate in chess, but I could draw another card. And yeah, so this is it may not look as much, but I promise you this is really strong. Then this is a classic. This is also, I guess, the only card that is worth any kind of money in the deck. Vampiric Tutor. Oh, sorry, I called it Vampiric. It's called Vampiric Tutor. And it's just a tutor. I can tutor for any card. I have to put it on top of my library. And it's not exactly card advantage. Actually, it's kind of card disadvantage, because I spend a card and I only get to, let's say, determine my next draw. But that can really help me but determining the next draw is a huge advantage, and it will very often lead to card advantage, because I may want to draw the next card, which is Dregs of Sorrow, which is sort of a bomb type card. So what this card does, it's a sorcery for black 4X. And what it does is just destroy X target non-black creatures and then draw X cards. And how I will use this usually is if my opponent has 2 creatures in play, I will cast this for 7 using a Dark Ritual, killing 2 creatures and drawing 2 cards, and that is in many situations actually just winning the game. Okay, now we get to a different kind of advantage type card. We have 2 classic Drain Lives. It's a sorcery. It's basically like a fireball, but I can only use black and as much damage as I deal to the creature or the player, that much life I gain. So that's it's a finisher, but it also just gives me advantage of having more life, because sometimes I will cast this for non-lethal, but it helps me boost my own life total, giving me more time to get the card advantage, to get the end game that I want. It can also be used to kill creatures. And the last 4 cards are pitch spells called Spinning Darkness. And it's the same sort of concept with those. I gain life. It's a sort of a drain life, but I can only hit creatures, and I deal 3 damage to a creature. It's an instant speed, and then I gain 3 life. It has a very high casting cost, but I can exile 3 black cards from my graveyard, the top 3 black cards from my graveyard, to cast this for free. And the reason it's in this pile is because that extra 3 life is actually really significant. And it actually also works together with all these defensive spells and the dark rituals, because I will be casting all these instants and sorceries, and that helps me to have enough black cards in my graveyard to cast this for free. And the life gain, like usually life gain is frowned upon in Magic, but in this deck it works particularly well, also together with the Crypt Rats, and it gives me the time that I need to establish board dominance. So that's the deck, and we'll just have a small cut, and then let's get to sleeving these bad boys. Let's get these cards out of the way. Let's open these and let's see if they make some nice crinkly sound, maybe some ASMR sounds. That's pretty good. How about the other one? To opening these. Kind of excited to see. I kind of like those sounds actually. Okay, let's see about this one. take this bad boy and double sleeve him. So the Singia Vampire is a 4/4 flying, and if he kills a creature, he'll get a +1/+1 counter. I've been playing, I got him in the last draft. We've been playing for 3 years, and in the last draft, that's I guess 4 months ago, and yeah, I've played I guess about 30 games since then. I haven't seen that ability actually be put to use yet. I hope it will happen one day. Is the vampire ASMR? Does he have an ASMR sound? Kind of. And he's just such a bad mofo. Okay, now for the dungeon shades. Using them to throw shade on the competition. Should I care about side loading them in the same manner, all of them? I think I will. I should side load them like this. I hope you guys find some relaxation in this. I can assure you that I do. This is just... yeah. This is me time in a way that I really appreciate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 clear side loaders for the 6 pump knights, as they are colloquially known. And of course, these illustrations kind of boring, but these I kind of like, especially this guy. This guy is metal AF. So he'll get the honor of going first. Are you guys doing alright out there? Are you relaxing? Are you watching some good videos? What kind of videos other than my videos are you guys watching? What kind of stuff do you guys like? I'd be actually kind of curious to know about that. And if you have, ideas for other stuff I could do, please feel free to post them in the comments. These cards are really important, actually, also in another way. These are pump knights, because the fact that they have protection from white is really important, because since we are only 8 players and people kind of know every card in every other player's deck, I could have some serious problems playing against white with those pesky Circle of Protection. Of course, these are immune to Circle of Protection because they have protection from white. And yeah, when you are on top, it gets lonely on the top, of course, and everybody wants to take down the top dog, so they will tailor their decks specifically to destroy me. And it's very different from traditional Magic, say tournaments, where the meta is huge. Here the meta is you and 7 other players. So yeah. I kind of like those sounds actually. That's it for the book lights. Oh, this guy, the rack. So I'll read him. At the end of target opponent's upkeep, the rack deals that player 1 damage for each card in his or her hand fewer than 3. Works really well with Hypnotic Spectre and Hymn to Tourage and Turak. I don't know how to pronounce that. And also it's just nice to have an alternate way to creatures to deal damage, because that makes it harder for my opponent to have like a silver bullet that, you know, can just stop my deck in its tracks. And by silver bullet I mean like you use a silver bullet against werewolves, that's the kryptonite to werewolves, and a silver bullet against, for instance, in the early days of the league I was playing mono red, sort of a simple version of red deck wins, just a lot of burn spells and fast creatures. Of course it was not very strong, because in the early days of the league we hadn't played that many drafts, and therefore we didn't have that many cards available. But I did manage to get my hands on 3 lightning bolts. That's a really strong card. But some people found out that you can use Circle of Protection red, and that was a very efficient silver bullet, because I didn't have anything that could deal with a Circle of Protection. Later I got Anarchy, but by then I had already moved on from the mono red. And that's one of the reasons that I really like playing Magic in this way, because it's you have to evolve all the time, and you have to take it into account what's available, what's the economy, what kinds of cards are coveted and are hard to trade for, and what kind of cards are maybe slept on and are easier to trade for. What happens when somebody finds a silver bullet that can wreck your whole strategy, all this kind of stuff. We created the Magic League here because we had taken up playing Magic again. We used to do it when we were kids, and we took it up again, and we found that it was just an arms race in a way, because first we made the rule that you can only play with the cards from when we were kids. That's why there's the only cards before 98 rule. But if you just order some cards online and are willing to spend a few bucks, you can build some insanely powerful decks. And yeah, we didn't really, that kind of soon got kind of boring. Yeah, we wanted to get back to that feeling of trading, you know, and oh, that guy has a Shivan Dragon, that's insane, or that guy has a Sinkia Vampire, how can I get that, what can I, you know, because Magic is supposed to be a trading card game. And yeah, we really got that, and it has been a big success. It's one of my favorite things to do. Just play Magic with my friends in this insanely competitive yet relaxing environment, because Magic has this thing where it's, you know, it's kind of casual, even though we take it seriously and we want to win. It's sort of a cozy card game. It's just, you sit down, you relax, you have a beer or a cup of tea, and you talk about life. And yeah, it's just you have all these cool illustrations, and yeah, I should be careful with that, bending the cards like that, even though these cards are worth absolutely nothing. We should still try to have them in as good shape as possible. Have the spinning darkness here. Actually thinking about a new deck to have like as my secondary deck, because you are not in the league, you are not required to inform your opponent what deck you are playing. And like one of the guys has tried out a strategy of having like matching sleeves for 3 different decks, and that means that it's very hard, or actually impossible, to sideboard against him. That of course comes at the cost that he can't concentrate his power in any one deck, as I have pretty much done here. I have used a lot of time trading me to all of these cards that are basically some of the most powerful cards available in the meta. But I am considering having like a secondary deck that I can break out once in a while, and that would be blue, black, and it would be centered around a card called Ray of Command. That is an instant, blue instant, that takes control over one of your opponent's creatures for 1 turn, untaps it and gives it haste, so that you could do tricks like if my opponent is attacking with 2 creatures, you can steal one of them and block the other, and hopefully they'll both die, and that way you're 2 for 1. But I want to use it in combination with a card called Tendrils of Despair. It's just a sorcery, costs 1 black. You sacrifice a creature and your opponent discards 2 cards. So I steal your creature, attack you with it, sacrifice it, you discard 2 cards, and then the rest of the deck is sort of built around this discard mechanic as well. But that's, yeah, that was the basic idea, and it won't be nearly as strong as this, but it will be fun, and it will just have a lot of crazy blue cards that are fun to play. So because the thing about this deck is that it's such a well-oiled machine, and that I feel that when I play it I have to do it justice and play it perfectly, and Magic is actually kind of a hard game to play perfectly, if not actually technically impossible. I think it's technically impossible to play Magic perfectly. I just saw a video about that. But yeah, so I feel I have to do the deck justice, and also I have to win to keep my spot on the rating list. So I'd like to have a deck that I could play, unrated casual games with, just for fun. Oh, and yeah, you heard me say rating list, and yes, we do have our own rating list. So one of the guys programmed like this huge Google spreadsheet where every time we play what we call a rated game, we will report the result of the game, and it will calculate the ELO ratings of the players and how the ELO will change. Also, it shows win percentages, it shows a graph of your rating development over time. It shows, basically all statistics that it's possible to make. And being number 1 on that list is important to me, probably more important than it should be. But yeah, and we are just sleeving these bad boys, these Hymn to Torag, how do you say that? And I'm actually a little bit, not ashamed, but I'm a little bit, this card is not a fun Magic card. I have to play it because it's so good. It's like almost broken, but it's not fun. It doesn't, your opponent has no interesting choices or ways to play around it, and I don't have to this card is basically always good. It is always going to be good, and in every other situation than my opponent having no cards in hand, it's a good card. Whereas a card like this, I have to use tactics and strategy. I have to think about what I'm doing. Whereas with this, it's sort of a no-brainer unless I have something really good to do, or something that I have to do to defend myself. I'll just play that every time, and that's a bit boring. Also, it's very depressing for the opponent because it just is so disruptive for their whole game plan. found a really nice editing of this where somebody had drew bandanas on these, and then was just crib rats like the gang crips. It was really nice. And we have almost worked our way through all the cards now. Now we reach the Hypnotic Spectre. The flavor text of this is: there was no trace of aught on that illuminated face. Same Oracle Rich Phantom. Don't know what that is, but it is ominous. And this guy is just, yeah. Considering how weak creatures were in this era of Magic compared to today's standards, this guy was just really, really powerful. Like just a 2/2 flyer for 3, that's already kinda good. But that ability, like if he hits just once, it's, yeah, and if he hits twice, your opponent will start to be really, really, really depressed. This guy Drew Talker, his illustrations are very abstract and unsettling. It feels a very good fit for black cards. Now the last guys, the Terrors, and this is a really efficient card, and I actually found a way for my opponents to play around these guys a little bit, but I'm not going to tell them. But there is this card, Thran Forge, that can turn creatures into artifact creatures temporarily, and it's reusable, and it also gives them +1/+0. So what they could do was include a couple of those in a deck, and then use other cards that works well with against enchantments or with enchantments, like Divine Offering or Disenchant, so that you could also use it aggressively. You could either say, okay, in reaction to me casting Terror on one of your creatures, you'll go, oops, nope, that's an artifact creature now, so you can't target it, and then it would fizzle. You could also use it aggressively, so you could say, oh, I'll make that creature an artifact creature, or throw a Divine Offering after it and kill it and get its casting cost in life. Yeah. almost done with the spells. This illustration by Ron Spencer, of course, one of the best illustrators for Magic the Gathering. There is actually a Danish illustrator, also called Jesper Myrfors. That's it for the spells. Now for the lands, actually, of course we don't draft the lands because there aren't lands in. They stopped putting lands in booster packs after, I think, beta already. I don't know, but very early they realized that was not a good idea. So we just, buy a bunch of old lands, distribute them. Everybody's welcome to them. But these particular lands from, I think it's Mirage, was actually given to me. Okay, we had some small camera malfunction there, apparently. So you missed me. The super exciting side sleeving of these lands. You are here to watch the end of it, though. Yeah, I was just rambling on. I think I was talking about how I feel that my chest strength is, I'm slowly getting it back, I feel. So, we are nearing the bottom of this pile now, and then it will be time for the top loaders. Yeah, so as I mentioned, that you may not have heard because I think it didn't make the recording. These lands were a gift from the guy who runs the blue deck, who's actually my arch nemesis in the league. He's really good. He has this blue control deck, and he's also just a really strong Magic player. I think he's probably quite a bit better than me from a tactical point of view. He doesn't miss a single point of damage. He finds interesting plays that most people, myself included, wouldn't have considered. I think my advantage and the reason that I can have a positive score against him is that I am a bit stronger from a strategical point of view. I can put a more consistent deck together. Then I feel that the way he does it is sometimes a bit too fanciful, where I just try to say, okay, for me it's enough to just barely win the game. I don't have to dominate. I just want to swing the odds in my favor. I just want to win most of the games. If I can win more games than against each opponent than any other player in the league, well, then I am doing the best. I will get the highest rating, and so on. So it's just being consistent, losing as little as possible. But yeah, he's really good tactically. He also watches a lot of videos. I know, like Louis Scott Vargas and stuff, and other streamers and stuff, and I don't get into that. I watch chess, and a whole bunch of ASMR. So, but yeah, nobody really makes ASMR chess videos, of course, except for myself, which is actually the whole reason that I am making ASMR videos. It's just I was watching ASMR videos for a long time, and I just tried to find, because you know, a lot of them are about makeup, and you know, and also in the early days there weren't as much variance, there was much diversity in the videos. There was just a lot of makeup tutorials, and you know, I don't wear makeup, so it didn't really connect with me. It's just, yeah, it wasn't really for me. And at some point I just decided, okay, if nobody's going to make videos about chess with ASMR in it, I might as well just do it myself. Because, and then, yeah, I just posted, I think I posted it on Reddit or something, and then people watched it, and that was just, and they were just like you guys. Maybe this is a magic video, so maybe it will be different, but like my followers who post on my chess videos are just unbelievably kind and supportive, and that was just such a thrill. So yeah, I had to continue do some more videos, and yeah, I hope I can break out and do different kinds of stuff, all kinds of ASMR stuff. I have an idea to test high-end microphones. Just do like a bunch of ASMR videos with just absolutely top-end audio equipment. You know, how does my voice sound, or how does Crinkling sound on an Neumann U87, for instance, if you pair it with an Avalon preamp, or you know, stuff like that. You know, if you're interested in that, just, you know, let me know in the comments. Yeah, and also I'd like to do some more poetry, like that video I did, Ode to the Night, because that's, you know, I'm not a very good poet, but it's a nice, satisfying thing for me to do, and I think most of you guys are just really, most of all, just like listening to my voice. So if I can, you get an outlet for that there, would be nice. Of course, more chess videos. Maybe playing some other games, some old school games. Like I played that Warcraft 2. I want to get back into that also. Unfortunately, Battlefield is no longer online. The Battlefield 2, I mean. I could also do some. How about Skyrim? Do you guys like Skyrim? Because like when Skyrim came out, I played it a bunch, and I love that game. I absolutely love that game. And could that be good for ASMR, do you think? Yeah, let me know in the comments if you've watched this far. So yeah, and now we're done here. I'll just test out the ASMR-ness of these cards now, and also I should say why this is a patron relevant video, and that is because these sleeves that I used, I actually bought those with the money that my patrons very generously and kindly donated to me. So I think this will be my 12 patron special. Let's first get some of the air out of the video, out of the cards like that. Okay. How does this sound? These cards haven't been sleeved. We have to rectify that immediately. I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like it. Please consider subscribing. Yeah, please leave a comment. Yeah, and to all of you guys who are, you know, long time watchers, or like you who basically all, welcome to all the new guys that are here because they searched for Magic the Gathering ASMR. Welcome, so happy that you watched this video. And to all of my regulars, I love you, and I just love you guys. And yeah, all the new guys, I hope you will become regulars.